Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether your mom is into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried-and-true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now, everything at Movement is up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale. A watch is a gift that celebrates all the time you spent with mom. And a Movement watch is even more than that. Movement uses industry-leading materials for their fresh modern watch designs, from technically complex ceramics to vintage-inspired style, all for an incredible value your wrist and wallet will both love. And with one-size-fits-all convenience and fast free shipping and returns, it's a stress-free shopping experience. Save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with Movement. Get up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale at mvmt.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at mvmt.com.
We made this.
Welcome back to We Are Starfleet, your Star Trek Discovery Season 3 podcast, hosted by myself, Ian Buckley, and my buddy Mike Slammer. We are here on the We Made This network of podcasts at WeMadeThisPod.com. We're a collection of podcasts that has a little bit of everything, ranging from film, sci-fi, pop culture, music. Check us out at WeMadeThisPod.com. Mike is going to introduce us to our Season 3, Episode 3 breakdown of Star Trek Discovery. Take it from here, Mike.
Yes. Thank you. Real quick, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. There's a lot of podcasts to choose from, and we greatly appreciate you choosing ours. So thank you very much. Ian, Episode 3, People of Earth. Written by Bo-Yeon Kim and Erica Lepault, and directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes. Frakes is back in the directing chair.
You know, a lot of folks say he can basically do no wrong when it comes to the director's chair and Star Trek. And I agree.
It's certainly the case since these newer Star Trek shows have come out. He's got one or two not so great episodes in Next Gen, but he was still figuring things out back then. I don't think he's made a single episode of these newer Treks that I haven't liked.
Yeah, the big one for a lot of people was New Eden.
New Eden was a great
season
one.
2. Yeah, that really brought back that classic, the original series type feel, Next Generation type feel of Star Trek, away mission, captain and crew having to go undercover on this planet. Great sense of adventure.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
This episode, People of Earth, aired October 29, 2020. And it is the 22nd anniversary of the Space Shuttle Discovery launching, STS-95. So the Discovery launched back in 1998 with an astronaut by the name of John Glenn. He was 77 at the time, so that made him the oldest person to go into space.
Yeah, I remember that.
John Glenn, his namesake carries on into Star Trek lore. If you recall, the USS Glenn was a Discovery's sister ship.
Yeah.
In the first season. So, lots of cool little bits of, the universe coming together here. So, tell me what your overall impression of this episode.
So I thought this was another solid episode. I'm pretty happy with how season 3 is starting off. If I had to give it a number, I'd say probably an 8 out of 10. Kind of on the same plane as where I was with last week's episode. That same tier. I thought it was a solid episode.
Wow. Well, I'm a little different. So on the number scale for me, it's a 7 out of 10. I thought this was a welcome change of pace from our first 2 episodes. And as we had discussed last week on our podcast, I'm glad that our crew got a sense of relief. And another thing I really enjoyed about this episode was that the main plot went back to a villain of the week style.
Sure.
And I thought that was just a fun, a fun Star Trek episode. That's all it was. I thought that there was some sensible character moments and reasonable actions taken during the course of the episode. Even though some of them are kind of confusing, and there was a good bit during the heist, I guess, if you want to call it that, where I was just like, wait a second, what happened when Burnham and Book went out with on Booker's ship? And I was like, hold on, what's going on? What's happening? So I think for some of that reason, that there was a little bit of a confusion surrounding the plot, and whether it was a purposefully done measure or whether it was just a byproduct of how the show was written, it is what it is. But again, 7 out of 10, welcome change of pace for me.
Sure. Well, it still sounds like you were overall pretty positive on it, and I think that speaks to this season being off to such a sure footing after I think a lot of ups and downs in the first two seasons. I think it was really it's been really good to see so far. Yeah,
I'm kind of dreading the episode 5 turn. I don't know if you have noticed, but it seems like new Star Trek shows that have come out, the first half of the season is, you're loving it. And then the second half of the season, you're like, did that? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
I'll say
with the exception being Lower Decks.
I'll say at least for my part, certainly Lower Decks, it was, if anything, the opposite. But I think the only thing I really felt, the only series I felt that with has been Picard. Personally, I actually felt like last season, I was, with a couple of exceptions, I think it was more, for me, more enjoyable as it went along. But I think that certainly was probably true of season 1, for sure, for me, at least.
Yeah, same. So social media had a lot to say about this particular episode, and especially if you are following any of the LGBTQ community, you'll know that there was a lot of special moments throughout this episode that they really connected with. So I pulled 2 quotes here from Reddit. I'm going to read them real quick. User Fields391 on Reddit says, Boothby's been taking good care of that tree for the last 1,000 years.
Yep.
That was that's a really cool. I can't recall if the tree was specific in any other Star Trek episode.
I don't think so. It didn't ring a bell, but it's possible. You could probably point to maybe the one where Wesley and the cadets.
Is it a Voyager?
No, it's Next Gen. It's where Wesley and the cadets screw up, and they're at Starfleet headquarters, and it is the first cause. No, I don't know.
The first duty.
First duty. Thank you.
Yeah.
There. I think there's a scene outside where there's someone sitting by a tree. Like maybe you could sort of argue that it's there, but I don't think there's a specific plant that it's a reference to.
Yeah, I love the concept of all this junior bridge crew studying underneath the tree. And, as they're going through the academy, and now here they are 900 years later, and the tree still stands.
Love that sense of connection to the past that they had. It was clearly meaningful for all of them.
User Rusty Does Detroit says, amazing through and through. I honestly don't even care what anyone has to say.
Great. Yeah, I saw a couple of good comments on Reddit. Atticus Bluebird pointed out that they liked how Detmer voiced a lot of worry about taking the hit from the weapons and the sort of climax of that action sequence. There was a frantic nature to her concern that makes me suspect that there's a PTSD arc for her after what happened last week. I thought that was a pretty astute observation. I think they are going to go in that direction. I'd be surprised if they didn't. They've now made it a point kind of in 2 episodes.
Yes.
Uncertain Error, also on Reddit, had "Yay, Captain Saru" to say. So overdue, made it extra meaningful. I'm glad they also aren't glossing over the fact that Michael spent a year by herself and would need time to readjust to life back aboard the Discovery.
Yes. It's refreshing. Again, I've said it before. Discovery seems to be really including a lot of real world emotional and mental impact that trauma has on a person, and including that in their writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over on Twitter, @MusicPaladin says, this season feels akin to The Next Generation's Season 3 tonal shift. It's refreshing and matured.
Yeah, there was a lot of chatter online about how this season's represented, at least to them, a bit of a tonal shift. A lot of people pointing out kind of what you mentioned earlier, that this was sort of a return to a sort of a villain of the week sort of format. I saw some commentary that pointed out that they felt it would be an episode welcome in TOS or TNG because the basic premise and the setup was something that was very familiar.
@Batleth says, I've loved the series so far, but this season is something special.
Yeah, a lot of nice positive feedback. A lot of I'm seeing a few more 8s, a few more 8.5s. A couple people who aren't as high on it. I saw another comment on Reddit that they just really aren't on board with any of the decisions the writers are making. You're always going to see commentary like that, I guess. But most of the responses have been pretty positive. It's been good to see.
Sounds good. Well, without further ado, sir, let's jump into the deep dive of People of Earth. And listen, I gotta say, this episode to me, it felt like a masterclass in how to properly pace action, dialogue, character developments, and plot.
Yeah, it unfolded really well. One of the other comments I did see were expressed relief that the pacing of this season seemed much better, much more consistent from episode to episode, and through these first 3 episodes, there's not as much of the sort of frenetic pace. There's urgency when it's called for, but there isn't a lot of rapid shifts in speed and narrative development.
Agreed. Yeah, and before the credits roll, we get a little bit of exposition from Michael's point of view, where she kind of is recapping her year by herself and what she's had to deal with and how she has had to let go. And
we don't get a little bit of exposition. We get a lot of bit of exposition.
Right. And I liked how they did that. Yeah. And to be honest with you, coming out of episode 2, I was a little nervous about that because I was like, oh boy, here we go. It's going to be a lot of talky. But it was overlaid on this montage of, her going through these different adventures and working with Booker to find like more information about Starfleet and the Federation before finally receiving the signal from Discovery.
Yeah, for sure. And they do have the device, these Trek device of the personal log to always fall back on for exposition, and they do so here. And they're also have the benefit of this is the mystery that a lot of the audience is also invested in having the answers to. Like, she starts talking about what she's learned about the Federation of the future, about the burn, about what happened. And that's all stuff that we as the audience, especially as invested Trekkies, are really interested to hear. We're hanging on every word she has to say about it.
The reunion was sweet, and I think it's important to remember that this ship and crew are out of time.
Yeah.
And putting themselves at great risk. So that moment to reflect and, share a little love and hug and be physically connected, especially from Michael's perspective, is, it's a welcome moment of relief. You don't see that often in TV. It's always, we finished the job and now, we went through this crazy stuff together. Now it's on to the next thing. Here it's a moment.
Yeah, a lot of moments. They really do let the moment of reunion stretch out, and you do get a lot of opportunity for these characters to breathe. Which, after the very hectic pace of the end of season 2, what they just went through. I mean, that's the other thing for the crew. This all is just happening. They just popped out of the wormhole and Michael just rescued them out of the ice. This is all still actively going on. And they do a good job of taking several moments in this episode to allow for characters to express what they're going through. Tilly in particular has a standout moment with Michael Burnham where she kind of stands in for the rest of the crew by expressing that sense of loss that everyone is doubtless feeling, because she essentially lost, and it was lost to everyone they left behind.
Yeah. Speaking of before the credits, Saru gets the captaincy.
Hell yeah, he does.
So you and I can put our pitchforks
down.
We're good.
Pitchforks down.
We're okay.
Banners up. Pitchforks down.
Banners up.
Yeah.
We're here for it.
We absolutely are. Captain Saru, well deserved, joins the ranks of our hero ship captains now. What do you think about having our first alien hero ship captain?
Well, it's welcome. I know that there have been a lot of commentary saying if Saru doesn't get it, then what the heck was all his character growth for? And absolutely, I mean, there was no other person more suited to the chair than Saru after everything he's been through. And I'm glad that there was no kind of long, drawn out, will he, won't he type situation. And I'm especially glad that there was no, not even an inkling of a contest over the chair with Michael.
Yeah. Burnham knew right away, understood right away that it had to be him. Just as thankfully the writers of Discovery understood that it had to be him.
Yeah. I think he's going to be faced with considerable challenges in the coming weeks in Discovery time, as they're on this quest to reunite the Federation. We are going to see a newly minted captain and how he deals with these crazy, out of this world, like no one would ever even imagine it in the sake of normal Starfleet Federation time. The 23rd to 24th century. Usually, a newly minted captain would get an older ship. They'd be out on patrol lanes and doing scientific tasks. But here, nah.
Yeah, and what a wonderful representation of the Federation and Starfleet ideal Saru is.
Agreed. And this kind of leads to my next point, and something that we'll probably discuss a little bit in depth. Michael has let go, it seems, and in more ways than one. Although by the end of the episode, she does accept the first officer position, it seems like she's still very reluctant to call Discovery home again.
Yeah, she clearly allowed herself to mourn the loss of Discovery. She, at a certain point, acknowledges that she basically was resigned to the fact that she may well never see them again, and essentially let them go and moved on and started a life of her own. And that new life gets interrupted. Literally, the montage ends with her reverie being interrupted by word of Discovery's arrival, and now she doesn't know how she fits into the new crew dynamic. She knows that she wants to. I think that's made pretty clear.
Yeah.
At least she says she does. We have to take her at her word, I guess. But it's going to take time. That's clear.
Yeah, I mean, she's always had problems with authority.
Sure.
Right? And in season 2, she only really responded because it was, part and parcel her entire fault that, the whole situation was occurring in one way or another. So all eyes were on her to perform, and she had no other choice. So I think this dynamic is an interesting development. And, you know, for the past year that she had been waiting, she didn't have anyone counting on her. It was only her.
Right.
You know, she could come and go as she pleased. The stakes were low. And she didn't have best friends to help through different things. She didn't have anyone to report to. It was her. Right. All alone, you know, gallivanting around space.
No,
right?
she clearly acts as someone who's been Han Soloing it for a year would.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see this development. It's a very real thing that the writers have placed into the story as a result of, you know, a year of being alone, you know, or with Booker. And Empress Georgiou, she sees this and she understands it probably more so than anyone else on the crew actually would. And I'm calling it right now. Michael Burnham is going to find herself spending a lot more time with Georgiou throughout the season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna head in, maybe not like a full on, like Burnham's gonna turn into, you know, a genocidal maniac or anything
Certainly
like that. I don't think it's gonna be that far, obviously. But I think she's gonna kind of understand where Georgiou is coming from a little bit more, especially since Georgiou fits into this universe.
She does. I'll be curious to see whether and if she does, why Georgiou sticks around on Discovery. Burnham alludes to this too. She asks her flat out, like, why are you still here? Even though Discovery has only been there for a day, she's surprised Georgiou hasn't already found her way off the ship to carve out her own little corner of the universe. And I'm a little surprised too. It'll be interesting to see why she sticks around, if she does.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where the devil you know is better than the one you don't.
Sure.
Right now.
Yeah, I think she's potentially biding her time.
Yeah, she wants to see more of what's out there, and she knows Discovery is the way to do that.
You know, and it's interesting. You know, in the background of all this sort of meta, there's the knowledge that they're going to do a Section 31 show apparently still with her. So we sort of are constrained in what we can speculate she'll do. Like she'll likely not leave the ship and everyone behind forever and leave the show because she's going to still be involved somehow in Section 31. It's not really clear what they're gonna do with her character. Right now, she's sort of serving as this, sort of like she did last week, the sort of Worf-like, you know, fire all torpedoes voice of you know, sort of martial wisdom on the bridge.
Yeah, she definitely plays that fire phasers first role. Yeah. So the episode has us, you know, we reunite, you know, they catch up, and there's only one course of action, right? And that's to go home.
Sure. Yeah. Now they can, you know, they have the spore drive. You know, Michael told them that she was constrained by, you know, Earth being so far, but now they have the spore drive. They can go anywhere. Something that will be crucial in the season.
Stamets had always seemed pretty reluctant to jump back into his little spore cube, but this seems to be the first time where he's like, well, I'm waiting, you know, tell me to go, and we're going, you know. So it was exciting to see Stamets be a little bit more in his element.
Yeah, and I think he's no longer faced with you know, a lot of the times when he was having trouble, I think in mycelial space was when like he was still trapped in there, and there was a lot of like really you know, horrible stuff rattling around in Stamets' head as well, and he seems to have moved past that now.
The jump from wherever they were to Sector 001, really cool. I missed that.
Yeah.
I missed that. You know, I think we've talked about it before, but some of my favorite visual sequences in Star Trek has been with the Discovery jumping. And I love the effect, you know, the spinning saucer and it just goes and then pops
It just looks cool, man.
It just looks cool. And man, that's what sci-fi is sometimes. You just want to look at some cool stuff.
Yeah, we get a nice little flyby of Saturn, and then they're magically at Earth.
Yeah. It takes them no time at all, even at sublight.
No time at all, even at sublight. Sure.
Yep. This is where the episode lost a point for me, and it's okay. So I'm gonna.
Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether mom's into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried and true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now you can save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with up to 50% off site-wide during Movement's Mother's Day sale at mvmt.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at mvmt.com. Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether your mom is into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried and true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now, everything at Movement is up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale. A watch is a gift that celebrates all the time you spent with mom. And a Movement watch is even more than that. Movement uses industry-leading materials for their fresh modern watch designs, from technically complex ceramics to vintage-inspired style. All for an incredible value your wrist and wallet will both love. And with one-size-fits-all convenience and fast free shipping and returns, it's a stress-free shopping experience. Save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with Movement. Get up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale at mvmt.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at mvmt.com.
Explain it, and then we can talk about it. So we know from Beta Canon and Alpha Canon that Sol System is populated with multiple sensor relays. You have commercial and luxury ventures on Luna. Remember, Riker grew up on the moon, right? You have science stations, defense positions. There's shipyards, Utopia, Planitia at Mars. And there's even archival facilities on Pluto, very much like our own genetic seed storage in Norway. And I was kind of maybe expecting, some exposition, maybe some flyby as they're going through Sol System that, these installations have been abandoned or they've been mined out or, they've been scuttled, right? And that would be a little bit more of a sensible, logical path to the Federation and Starfleet regressing, leading to what we saw of Earth and why the Federation may have pulled out of Earth altogether. But the lack of any of that made everything that happened in the episode a little bit harder to handwave, with the exception of, referencing the colony on Titan, which, we can get into separately, but I felt that was a very realistic scenario.
Yeah, I can hear that. I think it could have been something that was left on the cutting room floor. Who knows? But I think they could have fleshed out the solar system a little bit more. At least a couple of lines of dialogue explaining sort of like you said that there was no signs of there should have been signs of life if there were still outer solar system activity, and if not, that's also something that could have been commented on. Yeah,
and the fact that Earth doesn't go into defensive mode until Discovery is basically right on top of her is, you're like, all right, I understand, that's for the sake of the viewer, but we're not your casual viewers.
Yeah,
we are Trek nerds.
And that, Discovery could fly all the way from much closer to Titan to Earth without being intercepted or hailed at all. A little strange given what eventually unfolds.
Exactly. It just seems very likely, right? In a cataclysmic event, whoever has the most resources available to them and to share becomes the king, right? And it doesn't track for me that the people of Earth would just kind of let the solar system go. They'd be like, no, like we have resources in the asteroid belt, we have the moon, we have our shipyards on Mars. There's no way we're going to let these things go. Like we have to defend them.
Yeah, I think again, without knowing to what extent the devastation and collapse I wouldn't necessarily go that far. It's possible that basically everything that wasn't, on Earth, they do imply, they say they rebuilt implying that there was some planetary destruction involved as well. It seems like essentially anywhere where there was a matter-antimatter actively going on, there was utter devastation, and those sorts of explosions, aren't just big explosions. They have an effect on the structure of subspace too. It could cause all sorts of havoc within the solar system. It would have been nice to have some of that mentioned, but it didn't bug me as much as it bugged you apparently. But I hear what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, and I will put a little caveat here, a little asterisk mark, if you will. My wife and I have been watching The Expanse.
Oh, sure, love
basically
that.
back to back. So I think there might be a little bit of a, why wouldn't Earth be all over the solar system? There's so much available. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt.
So once they arrive at Earth, they're greeted by the United Earth Defense Force.
Yeah.
Led by
not Starfleet.
Expressly not Starfleet. We learn shortly from a Captain Ndoya that there is in fact no Starfleet or Federation presence on Earth whatsoever, and hasn't been for 100 years. So apparently sometime shortly after the burn and the collapse of the Federation as it was, the powers that be, at least we're led to believe, sort of packed up and left, and we don't really know where. And that'll be an enduring, at least for the next episode, an enduring mystery. It seems to be what's going to be the narrative, the narrative thrust of the next couple of episodes, at least, finding the Federation.
I keep struggling a little bit with a timeline of the burn and actions being taken or not taken, depending on your point of view. The Federation and Starfleet basically leaving Earth. I suppose it would make sense that they would want to leave because you don't want to paint a target on Earth's back. Like, it's the ancestral home of the Federation, right? Like, that's one of the founding members of the Federation, and one of the main drivers of the Federation's cause. So we don't want anything bad to happen to Earth, so let's get out of here quickly before we paint a target on its back. Makes sense, but 150 years? I mean,
we also don't necessarily know the circumstances under which they left. Ndoya doesn't really go into detail. It's possible that this United Earth Defense Force made them leave. Said, look, you're painting a target on Earth. You can't be here anymore. Pack your shit and leave. We just don't know. Given how openly hostile they seem, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But we'll find out.
I will say, maybe openly hostile is a good phrase to use. But they still, Captain Ndoye still struck me as rational and understanding, and it's only the fact that her experiences have reinforced her methodology and her thought process. And once Saru and Giorgio and Michael kind of forced the conversation to happen, you can see that there's a distinct change in her demeanor. So
there is. It struck me. I was a little bit surprised. That was sort of one of the things that struck me about the episode that I wasn't so keen on. Was I felt like that switch flip was so sudden, and I was a little taken aback by the fact that they didn't ever talk, ever. They'd ever have any communication. Really? That just doesn't seem. I have so many questions about that initial ship that Titan sent that got destroyed. Was it a ship full of people? Were they Hail? Was this a crime against humanity that we're just moving past? I mean, was Ndoya herself, how long ago was this? Was she responsible? Should she be on trial right now? I was very curious about
It's like how many ships have Endoy and you know people under her command have shot down as a result. You know.
Yeah, it's a little. I was left with some questions, I guess, about the whole situation and how it got to where it was. That said, the sort of basic, you know, setup of this, you know, this poor, formerly self-sufficient colony on Titan, trying desperately to survive in a hostile solar system with a hostile planet Earth. I think that's pretty compelling, and I liked the resolution of the story. It was a very Trek resolution of like, yeah, dummies, like take your stupid, scary helmet off and talk to each other.
Just talk to each other.
Like, how about we try this thing that apparently no one ever goddamn thought of before?
Yep. I remember sitting there and I was saying under my breath, I was like, just take your helmet off.
Yeah, take your helmet off.
There. Just take your helmet off.
It's
very clear. Yeah. The United Earth, of course, is a phrase for the government of Earth. And we've heard this several times before, as early as the original series episodes, before the writers had even ever coined the term Starfleet.
Right.
In fact, one of the earliest things Kirk says to identify the Enterprise is United Earth Space Probe Agency. So I thought it was kind of a cool, like, hey, you know, we're pulling elements of canon from a wide variety of sources to reinforce the universe that we're in.
Yeah, and in Enterprise, there was the pre-Federation United Earth government. It's certainly a concept that we've seen before. But it's strange to see no Federation Starfleet presence on an otherwise familiar Earth.
Yeah. I will say that I didn't necessarily see any of this as any kind of allegory to our current political era, and I'll admit it's easy to draw that line, but this felt more confined to a Star Trek situation, which we have seen many times before, where it's a classic, you know, and Saru even says it, you know, dialogue is the most effective weapon we have. You know, it's talk it out, talk your problems out. That's a very classic Trek lesson. And I didn't feel that the writers were trying to force any type of political commentary.
I mean, it doesn't have to be forced, but I mean, that goes back to what Trek is. It's going to comment on it if that's something that people aren't doing. If you produce something like this and have the thesis of it be that building walls is bad and talking to people is good, that's going to be seen as providing some sort of allegory or commentary on what's going on in the world, if that's what's going on in the world.
That's fair. Quick shout out, casting a tall, lanky type for a character of Wen. So Wen is a Titan colonist, and you know he grew up in a low gravity on a low gravity planet. So you know it's a small detail, but considering what we know, like the low gravity effects on bone growth and density would simply lead to taller and skinnier humans just across the board. So you know, because the bone won't know where to stop growing until it does, right? So that little factoid I thought was just fun, because the way the actor, Christopher Heyerdahl, by the way, he just kind of towers over everybody.
And they shoot it with low angles. They definitely make it, without putting a fine point on it, they make it a detail that, you know, it's a really good one to pick up on. Nice world building
detail. It is,
detail.
and this is why I take issue when a lot of critics online are like,
Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether mom's into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried-and-true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now you can save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with up to 50% off site-wide during Movement's Mother's Day sale at MVMT.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at MVMT.com. Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether your mom is into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried-and-true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now, everything at Movement is up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale. A watch is a gift that celebrates all the time you spent with Mom. And a Movement watch is even more than that. Movement uses industry-leading materials for their fresh, modern watch designs. From technically complex ceramics to vintage-inspired style. All for an incredible value your wrist and wallet will both love. And with one-size-fits-all convenience and fast free shipping and returns, it's a stress-free shopping experience. Save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with Movement. Get up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale at mvmt.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at mvmt.com.
Like, oh, the writers are stupid. Oh, this is dumb. Oh, it's like, no, man. Like, are we watching the same thing?
Right. There's clearly a lot of thought being put into, and what it really boils down to is they're putting their own thoughts into like different things and prioritizing different things on the show than some commenters on the internet would. I mean, that's what it boils down to. They're making different decisions than I would. How dare they?
I really enjoyed how I would say a good 95% of this episode is all on the Discovery.
Yeah. And featuring a lot of the crew. That's another sort of through line that it seems to be weaving, with the exception of the first episode of the season, but certainly through these subsequent two, is this being more of an ensemble show now, a little bit more, not necessarily so laser focused on Burnham's POV, but giving a little bit more screen time and a little bit more narrative meat to other members of the crew.
Yeah. It's nice to bring back the ensemble dynamic.
Yeah, we've got a running, story with Detmer now, where that's been in 2 episodes now. Presumably, it'll carry forward, and we'll be dealing with that. And those sorts of decisions that the writers are making now that we're well established in the 3rd season, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and really tense moment when you mentioned it earlier, where Detmer hesitated to put the shields up or to put the ship in line to protect Booker's ship from being hit by the torpedoes. Right. Saru gives this order. We need to move in line to protect Burnham and Booker, and Detmer says, "We don't know if we can even take this hit. We just finished repairing the ship." It's simultaneously so tense, and you're like, "Oh shit, she's right."
You can understand why she's concerned. Her assures her that, hey, shields are at full strength, and Saru gives the order, and she has to be told a couple of times before she does it. Yeah. And then, again, when Saru is faced with the choice of putting Discovery again in the line of fire once the shields have gone down, Detmer is very, very resistant again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I shouldn't say very, very resistant, but she provides hesitant. More resistance than any other than a Starfleet officer in that situation would be expected to.
Yes, exactly. That would be, I'm fairly certain on Kirk's bridge, Kirk would have just gotten up and did it himself.
Right, exactly. Like, hey, this is a problem for you. I can do it myself, or have someone else do it.
We're just going to do it. Yeah. Then we'll talk about it later.
It poses an interesting problem. There are only, now a select few people in the galaxy who could do Detmer's job. So she has to, has to, get her shit together.
Yeah, you raise a really good point. It was mentioned in the 2nd episode where there's only 88 crew members, right? So we're kind of in a Voyager situation where they have to be careful about management. The away missions they choose, what types of risk they're putting themselves in. And, now we know there's no dry dock to go back to.
They have to manage their human as well as their material resources.
Great showing off of new technology. I really enjoyed seeing Earth's force field, the EDF ships themselves, more personal transporters, and how they could be sabotaged.
Yeah. And a good, really easy way to show the complete technological dominance that Earth of the 32nd century has is, they just immediately beam on board the ship without an issue.
Yeah, they're like, we're not asking.
No, this is happening right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it easily overwhelms the far, far, far technologically inferior Discovery, and is probably going to be a running theme in this season, I imagine. Is that Discovery is going to come across every single person they come across presumably is going to have this extraordinary technological advantage. It presents an interesting tactical and strategic problem for them.
Yeah, just before Endoy and her inspectors beam aboard, the first thing she says is, "Oh, a view screen.
Yeah.
How quaint." I like that. I like that. It was both. I felt that was a little meta, going back to Pike's. Oh, we're gonna rip all these holograms out and go back to view screen.
Sure. Now those are the obsolete bits of technology. Yeah. Very interesting problem for the Discovery to have and the crew to have. Now they have all of these, UDF inspectors going through the ship looking for any signs of piracy or that they've been raiding, any shipping in the system. And the newest member of the Discovery cast, Blue Del Barrio, is introduced as one of these EDF inspectors. She plays a character named, or rather they play a character named Adira.
Yeah, I found it interesting that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they were using female pronouns in the episode.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yeah, I do know that on our world that Blue de Barrio prefers they them.
Yes, that was probably my error. I thought that I had read that the character was also non-binary, but I could be wrong. I mean, like you said, in the show, there. Sure, that could be something that comes out through the show.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the whole inspection bit as a whole, and I think it really tracks with how authorities in space would deal with potential threats to, either planetside or to other ships. Your first act is like, well, no, we're going to personally come inspect. We're not going to take your word for it. We're not going to scan because we know how computers can be tricked into believing anything, essentially. And it's cool to see like, oh, we're not just going to scan you and pretend that you're nobody. We're actually going to come on board and check you out.
Right. It resonates with sort of old pirate days on the high seas. You have the colonial powers who, if they suspected you of piracy, they just doesn't matter. You're going to accept.
We're coming on board.
You're going to accept that we're going to inspect you.
Yeah, and this is where it leads into a lot of fun dialogue with the new character of Adira as she's moving through the Spore Drive Bay, and she's looking around, and she's like, "Oh man, this place is like a museum." And Tilly's like, "Oh, yeah, well, museums are cool."
Yeah, museums know that. Or Tilly knows museums are cool. Yeah, of course.
And Dira's like, "That sounds like somebody who lives in a museum would say."
Right.
And it's just fun, and I love the sense of wonder and whimsy that we're getting from this character. It's
Adira seems like a fun character. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it. We do learn at the end of the episode that Adira is not only not wanting to remain with the Earth Defense Force and instead come on board the Discovery as part of her crew, but is actually carrying a Trill symbiont.
Yeah.
A Trill symbiont who used to be a Starfleet admiral by the name of Senatal.
Yeah. Very interesting. And so I wasn't sure how well I would take to a 16-year-old in this overall context. And I was never a fan of Wesley Crusher's, I'm the smartest kid in the room. You can trust me with anything shtick.
Yeah.
And Adira's character, I thought, was kind of going to fit into that same mold. And she doesn't at all. And, they don't, it's considering Tilly already carries that overeager, brilliant ensign role. I thought, the ship might be a little crowded for that. But
it's a different shade on that,
Adira's, though. Yeah, it just seems like this genuine wonder and excitement and enthusiasm.
Yeah, and the being a carrier for a Trill symbiont twist is it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They do mention that she doesn't they don't have access to any of the symbiont's memories yet. So presumably that's going to set up something for the next episode or two. Perhaps trying to find out if they can get the symbiont out and into someone who can access the memories, or to have Adira somehow learn to access them.
Right. We know that the symbionts prefer Trill as hosts, as that's their natural evolution. There was an episode back in TNG where, a Trill a symbiont tried to attach with Riker, but only lasted for about 3 days before having to be removed. And, it could be that, Adira, they attached early enough in her life. She was still a child, so she grew up with the symbiont. So she has, maybe she's a bit more adept, as it's very clear to see. She's not just smart, but she's also clever, in a way that isn't necessarily like, oh, I read about this in the book. It's very like, oh, this is real. I can touch it. I can feel it. I can move around. They know exactly where, the bridge controls link up to the spore cube.
Yeah.
It's like, how'd you figure that out?
Right.
Hold
clearly,
on. You shouldn't know that.
Clearly highly intelligent. And it may be that there are some areas of past experience or knowledge that they can tap into. When they look at the older technology on this ship, depending on how old that Trill symbiont is, it may be that some of it looks quite familiar. Maybe old, but familiar. We don't quite know yet. It remains to be seen. It could be that Adira has some Trill DNA in her that makes her a more willing host. It could be that medical technology is advanced in 900 years, and now that procedure that used to be very difficult and only temporary is now a lot less temporary. We get some indication that Admiral Senatol at least supposedly died a couple of years prior. And presumably, if that record is correct, the symbiont was transferred then, perhaps, into Adira. So they would have been maybe 14-ish when they took on the symbiont, which seems really young. So it will be interesting to learn more about how that happened.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
The scene where Stamets confronts Adira.
Oh, in the Jeffries tube, sure.
I thought that was shot wonderfully, and it was like a really gentle, whimsical, vibe, and the music I felt reinforced that, and I had this sense of positivity and encouragement in that scene, and I will say it was a bit out of place with all the tension surrounding the rest of the ship and the rest of the plot. So for that reason, I understand some criticisms, where that scene felt so out of place comparatively, but as a standalone element, I was a big fan. It felt very optimistic and encouraging.
Yeah, I think at least at that particular moment in the story, the big dramatic tension had been relieved. Wen was captured, and they were, the tension had had been removed, I guess, from the equation. So I certainly didn't mind the change in tone, shifting to that scene, that sequence. I thought it was great. I think that they and Stamets have a really easy dynamic together. I'm looking forward to seeing that continue. Stamets likes having other geniuses around.
That's true.
It'll be fun to see the two of them and their development, the development of their relationship. Hoping that we see the development of their relationship.
Yeah. I think we're going to be very pleasantly surprised with how that develops.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, being as I am a straight white man, I can't relate to the feeling that I see so many in the LGBTQ community are relating to, but they are being seen, they are being heard, and they have a real portrayal of non-binary on screen.
Yeah.
And as I love that they are seeing themselves and finding joy in the inclusiveness that is Star Trek. And I'm not gonna speak for them any more than I already have, but again, I'm just encouraged and I feel optimistic about it.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, representation matters, and Star Trek received criticism for a long time for not having more LGBTQ representation earlier, and it's great. There's no complaints here. It would be nice if these sorts of things didn't even need to be emphasized, because we were past the point, but we're not there yet. We're moving towards that, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the negative comments that I saw, because you just, I don't know, these trolls just, they find ways to get right into your face. They were like, oh, I didn't like this episode because I didn't see anyone who looked like me. And, they're a straight white man. And I thought to myself, I didn't even notice. And why does that matter?
It's funny. The second time I watched the episode, I did notice, and I thought, how great. Sure, representation matters, obviously, but look, all of the years that Star Trek and most television was on the air, at least in America, it's mostly straight white faces that you see on the TV screen, and we're just we ask the audiences to relate to them, so why should I, as a straight white guy, or you as a straight white guy, have so much trouble relating to people who that are on the TV screen? It's silly.
Right. There's literally, from the dawn of photography, there have been straight white men. So I'm good. I can go one episode without seeing someone who looks like me. I'm good.
Yeah. I don't know if Wynn is straight, but he's very, very pale white. Sort of like me.
The dilithium vault, pivoting here back to the story, the vault makes the Discovery, an old ship with outdated technology, a huge target.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was clever how they decided to move the dilithium onto booked ship when necessary to hide it. It'll be really interesting to see whether they go. When they go from planet to planet, whether they play the possession of the dilithium super close to the vest, or whether they are pretty open about hey, we've got dilithium, and this is something that we're going to use to make the lives of people better when we can. It's going to be, again, a tough strategic decision for them to face, how open to be with giving it out to people who might be in need.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Right now, in my mind, the Discovery's only real advantage is the ability to run away effectively.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's a huge one.
So,
they have an enormous tactical advantage, even even in combat with an outmatched, opponent, like we saw with the Klingons. They can just jump around an enemy and fire and, completely overwhelm them.
Sure. And I will say that, the catch there is that Stamets has to be, ready to go at a moment's notice.
He does, right.
So there is a little bit of a setup there.
I'm wondering if they're going to potentially expand the number of people who can use the spore drive at any point, because he is a precious resource too. And not having redundancies, especially in a far future where you don't have a supply chain anymore, you don't have a home base anymore, you don't have a Starfleet anymore.
Right.
Like, every decision you make on that ship that could result in loss of life or injury or anything. I mean, if anything happens to Stamets that takes him out of commission, it's game over for them.
The vault is really interesting to me, this with all the dilithium. It's a new detail that we've seen on a starship. And with Discovery being a science vessel, there's probably some precedent for having so much dilithium handy.
Yeah, we don't really have a sense of how much a ship would typically be expected to hold.
Right.
We never really get a sense of that in any kind of canon on-screen reference, I don't think.
Right.
So this could be a lot, this could be a little, this could be, we just don't know.
You know, this definitely seems to be the first detail that Season 3 seems to be asking us to just go with here.
Which is fine. If it's not been seen before and it doesn't contradict anything, I mean, whatever.
Sure. It's going to be hard to withstand scrutiny in the context of canon. I mean, there's how many episodes of, TOS that were centered around the lack of dilithium, you know?
Yep.
And the Enterprise was designed for deep space. So
yeah.
It's hard to say.
And Discovery was designed with a different propulsion system in mind too. So, hard to say whether they received even a regular store. Who knows?
That's true. And maybe it is just a regular storage of their dilithium, but because they never use warp, they never use it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They could have it's essentially all theirs to distribute if they want. They don't have to hold on to a lot of it, I don't think.
Yeah, you raise a good point in that it could be their bargaining chip. But here's the thing, though. Those other inspectors, Adira is now with Discovery, and Doy seems, rather on the up and up. But those other inspectors, they could be talking amongst each other and sharing some specific information that Saru would otherwise not want to have known, So, again, I think this episode leaves a little open thread to allow for, other characters to come back in the form of an adversary of some type.
Yeah, and they certainly leave plenty of questions for all of the answers that they provide. We learn more generally about the burn and the apparent shortage of dilithium that the Federation galaxy was facing 700 years from when Discovery left, and we learned that there was no apparent solution to the problem of how to alternatively power our ships and systems, which raises for me, and I think there was probably for you too, a lot of questions about like why. Really, you have hundreds of years to think of alternative ways of running your engines and running your ship, and you can't think of any. I mean, the Romulans use a singularity to power their ships, and they've been, well, aside from their home planet exploding, they've been doing fine with that. So it was I'm curious to see if that's a thread they'll pull at a little bit more and give us a little bit more detail about like what exactly happened, because they give us some, but I think it raises more questions than it answers.
Yeah. And this is another reason why, this got hit by a point for me, is because this episode does pose a lot more questions to us. And, I fully understand and appreciate that we got a full season of Star Trek television ahead of us to answer these questions. And maybe it's a little bit of me just having to cool my jets a little bit, if you will. But if you pose a question in episode 1 and you're expecting us to stay with you throughout, there has to be a little bit more information. And I feel like, it's like a drip on a faucet. It's one drop at a time. And we should there should be a better understanding of what exactly happened. It's very hard to believe that all these Starfleet engineers, Federation scientists, not even if they're Federation or Starfleet, but just in general, like, how is there no clear, maybe not answer, but how is there no idea or theory that you can put forth?
Yeah, it's curious. And notably, when Burnham is explaining the burn to the crew of Discovery, she says no one knows if it was an accident or if it had natural causes. No mention of whether it could potentially have had unnatural and intentional causes.
Yeah.
But maybe that's something that we'll explore as the season unfolds. They could certainly go any number of different directions with the cause. I didn't really have a problem with the fact that there were so many more questions now. I thought we got some answers to some questions. We got more questions as a result, though. But it does leave me wanting more. I'll start to feel similarly to you, I think, if we don't get more in the next couple of episodes.
Fair enough.
But for right now, I'm happy with the level of mystery that we have. I'm intrigued. It's also intriguing that there seem to be slightly different versions of what exactly happened, which could be an indication that there's a little bit of a game of telephone going on here. When Book talks about the burn, he said all the dilithium, went boom. And we learn, at least through Michael's personal log, that apparently what happened is that the dilithium went inert, whatever that means, and was no longer able to regulate the matter-antimatter reaction. So every active reaction that was going on resulted in a matter-antimatter explosion.
Right.
And
which is what we were discussing in the last episode, where if the fuel rods were to suddenly just not function in a nuclear power plant, they would cause a meltdown.
Exactly. And what I think is unclear is what, when Burnham says all of it, went inert, it was a little unclear to me whether that meant that it all went inert permanently, because if so, why is it still useful? And if not, that's an interesting clue. If it was sort of like an on-off switch where it went inert all of a sudden and then went back to not being inert, unclear, and I'm curious about that.
Right. And since folks are still trading for it and it's still a highly valued resource, then clearly people still want to use it to go to war.
Right, it's still used to go to war. Like that's the thing that I'm so curious about. It obviously still works. So what happened during the burn that caused most but not all to go inert, or caused all of it to go inert, and then whatever didn't get destroyed went back to being fine again? One of those two things happened. Either most but not all went inert, and if so, why? Or all of it did, and then whatever was left was fine again. So it'll be a mystery for this season to deal with.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing like a good mystery. The bulk of the plot has to do with these raiders attacking the Discovery after they discover that this vessel has suddenly appeared right in the Sol system. So they attack Burnham and Booker. And hold on, let's back up a second, because we got to talk about Burnham and Booker specifically. They have quite the relationship now. And Georgiou is, the ever stereotypical overbearing parent.
Sure.
Asking very pointed questions.
Right.
As she beams Booker aboard the Discovery for the first time. I enjoy their dynamic so much more than Burnham and Ash Tyler. And
agreed.
It feels natural. It feels real. It's, man, like you just can't help but be like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have a really solid on-screen dynamic, and it's refreshing to see. It doesn't feel forced at all. It's really good.
Yeah. Michael taking up the mantle as a courier and traveling with Booker, sometimes with, sometimes without. We have this whole scene where they're sitting in Book's ship about to enact their plan, right, to save Discovery and knock out these raiders and so on and so forth. And, they go back and forth. We're like, well, what if we do it like this? Well, what if we do it like this? And they're just naming planets and different outposts or towns or cities that they were in as referencing, like, hey, remember that time on, Meridian 3? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, the one place where you broke my nose? No.
Yeah. It's good to see that they have this back and forth, this interplay. It feels natural. It's, even though I think for me at least, the referencing things that have happened off screen, it wears a little bit thin in this episode. I think they do it a couple too many times, maybe.
The fourth or fifth time I looked over at my wife and I was like, you get it? They've hung out before.
Yeah. That was definitely for me something that took me a little bit out of what otherwise was a really exciting dynamic to watch on screen.
Yeah. And we did not get enough Grudge in this episode.
Not enough Grudge. We'll get more Grudge. Book is obviously coming back, so we'll get more Grudge going forward.
She's a queen,
She
right?
is a queen.
It's just, I feel like that's just going to be a fun in-joke for everybody.
Yeah. It'll be great to see more of Grudge.
Realistically, this whole dynamic between Burnham and Book is supposed to kind of tell the viewer that they have this dynamic and this partnership where they understand each other without actually having to explicitly talk out loud at each other. So the whole thing where Saru had no idea what was going on, right? Which I feel goes right back to season 1 Burnham, where she was very like, no, I'm just going to do it my way, and my way is going to be the right way, and you're going to have to support me or else, So I didn't care for that. I'm not going to lie.
It's even worse because at least in season 1, she tried to convince Giorgio first before she went ahead and did it anyway. This time she didn't even do that.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I was a little bit, but you know what? I chalked it up to she just came back from a year on her own. Like, she's still very clearly in that headspace. It was clearly this, and she pretty much owned up to that at the end, where she said, like, look, I've had to just do some shit in the last year, and my headspace is still not in like Starfleet uniform mode, but if you're patient with me, I'll get there. And I thought that worked. That worked for me. As frustrating as it was one of those things that was like, there was a reason for it. I bought the reason for it. I understood it.
Yeah, it was telegraphed earlier when Burnham and Booker are in quarters together, and Booker is suiting up in the Discovery uniform, and Burnham turns around and she looks at him and she goes, "It's just a uniform." Yeah, definitely big, like, it may as well have had a red alert klaxon going and saying foreshadowing.
Right.
Foreshadowing.
Putting on that uniform in that moment for the inspection, that was what was causing them to both put on Discovery uniforms. For her in that moment, it was very much just putting on a costume to get through this situation. Like, I'm putting on my Starfleet costume rather than my Starfleet uniform. Which I thought was interesting, and like you said, it does it set up what happened later, and then at the end she's putting on the uniform and she means it. At least she means it more. Yeah.
That's a good point. Very telling that Giorgio decided to go with an admiral's uniform.
Yeah, I love the idea that Giorgio just has an admiral's uniform ready to go. And I love that she has enough self-awareness to know that no one would believe she was like a lieutenant.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to spend
the way that she
nobody's going to spend any time talking to this person, and the way that they conduct themselves and carry themselves and think that they're a junior officer.
Yep. It was a fun moment. I like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Burnham and Giorgio. I feel like they're going to spend a lot of time together this season, and I'm excited about that. So, the whole sequence where Burnham and Booker take Booker's ship out of Discovery Shuttle Bay, which I thought was highly convenient that it fit so perfectly.
Yeah, pretty cool reminder of the sense of scale of Starfleet ships. You know, you have this ship of books which looks plenty big when it's on a planet and they're climbing into it, and then you see it next to Discovery and you're like, oh right, it can fit inside a shuttle bay.
It definitely gives you an idea of the sense of scale. And it's one of those things where it's hard to say if it's like an optical illusion, you know, how things are placed and how we saw Booker's ship, you know, resting on its side. So it looked much bigger than it actually did. But it was nice to see that, you know, here is how big it looks. It's like the whole, you know, banana for scale.
Right.
Thing, right? Like,
Exactly.
This is how big it is. Yeah. I enjoyed the sequence of them, you know, leaving Discovery Shuttle Bay and going off to take on the Raiders head on. I thought it was a little silly that the whole plan had to be enacted on the Raider when dropping his shields so they could beam the dilithium aboard.
They're trying to con the guy. All they're trying to do is, I mean, we've seen this play out in other episodes and other sorts of shows. You're essentially just trying to con the guy into dropping your shields, and then you're going to do something other than what you've said that you're going to do. Yep. In this case, they beamed over there, held him at gunpoint, and beamed back aboard the Discovery.
Yeah, dragged him right up to Saru and Georgiou and Doi and forced that whole confrontation. Yeah. The only reason I felt it was a little silly because it's like, man, it's the 32nd century. You're still lowering your shields. You know, we have personal transporters now that just, you know, boop, instantaneous, but you still got to lower the shields.
Well, I think that's a reflection of probably the shield technology improved with the transporter technology.
Of course.
32nd century transporters can punch through 23rd century shields, not necessarily their analogous shields, their contemporaneous shield technologies.
You are right. Of course, you are right. It's easy to track that. I'm just saying it felt very
Worked for me, man. I'm always down for a good con job.
Fair enough. So, you know, they drag Wen in, you know, this Raider. He's got this scary alien helmet on. And, you know, like I said earlier, I just, you know, I was like, man, just take the helmet off.
Right.
We know you're human under there.
Right. Georgiou knows. Georgiou rips it off.
Yep. Takes him right out at the knee, rips the helmet off, and boom, there you have it. And it's the classic, hey, the enemy has been yourself all this time,
right.
You know?
Yep, solid Trek story.
Just a classic lesson. I really enjoyed it. I like the exposition. You know, my earlier complaint about the solar system. You know, the Raider, when being from a research colony on Titan, you know, it had become independent from Earth, but it was destroyed. Well, like a third of the colony was destroyed.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
In an accident at one of the facilities, which had destroyed a lot of their farming capability. And it left them without any long-range communications. So, the first ship that they had sent to Earth to seek help was just completely obliterated. And from that point on, they figured they were 100% on their own, and Earth wanted nothing to do with them. So, you know, hence you have this struggle in Earth's orbit. And, you know, the Earth Defense Force basically saying, you know, well, we don't want anything to do with these guys. They're Raiders. We'll take care of them ourselves. But it's very telling that Endoy, the captain of the Earth Defense Force, is able to basically just say, okay, we didn't have all this information. We need to figure this out. And classic Star Trek.
Yeah. Yeah. If there was one thing about the sort of story that I didn't love was at least Endoya, she seems to come around once the reveal is made that Wen is in fact a human, but it really shouldn't have made a difference. The circumstances would have been the circumstances regardless of whether Wen and his, survivors were human or not. The ethical stakes should have remained the same. I didn't love that, him being human seemed to be the thing that made the difference.
Sure. Yeah. Thinking about it that way, you're right. However, in a 32nd century isolationist planet with force fields surrounding,
I'm just saying, I don't think these Earth defense folks come off smelling like roses in this scenario, regardless of whether they didn't end up blowing the Titan folks out of the sky.
I have a good feeling that if we were to stick around Earth for a while, we'd see that it's not a great utopian paradise.
Yeah,
they may say.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm
not going to say
I kind of wouldn't want it to be, given the way they operate. I don't love the message that sends.
You're right. Yeah. Side note, some really good use of season 2's plot device, the spear data, comes back. It has a little bit of a resurgence. Saru uses it to reference the Trill, because they had no idea that the Trill were even a thing. So it turns out that they can use the spear data to access different parts of knowledge that they may not have previously had.
Yeah, so you've got the nice use of the sphere data to serve as kind of, Encyclopedia Galactica for the Discovery, to reference things that otherwise, canonically, they wouldn't have any reason to know, which is kind of a neat narrative. It excuses any potential canon problems with, well, why would the Discovery have known this if they've got the sphere data? They can just look it up.
It does. I do hope that, since the spear data is, at this point in time, 930 years out of date,
it's certainly not going
to
solve all the problems.
Right. But knowing, about the Trill homeworld and knowing about their race and who they are, that makes perfect sense. The spear data didn't say like, oh yeah, and they joined the Federation in the year 2388,
right.
Or
right,
something
exactly.
Like that. Yeah. So it was nice to see that come back in some kind of way and, it be utilized in a positive fashion.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be one of the questions that I have after this episode is to what extent the Trill symbiont plays a role in the plot moving forward. It seems clear that after they've resolved the issues between the Earth Defense Force and the forces of Titan, the next mission is find the Federation.
Find the Federation.
They're out there somewhere. Where do you think they are?
Well, that's a wonderful question, because the answer could be a multitude of things, right? And they're all equally correct until they are not. So Schrodinger's cat situation, Schrodinger's grudge, if you will. I could be Vulcan. I would not be surprised if it's Romulus, actually. And the reason I say that is due to the fact that one of the episode titles is Unification 3. So if we go to, well, it wouldn't be Romulus, but if we go to the Romulan system and find out, what happened, because like you mentioned earlier, they run their vessels off of singularities. So
right, so
how are they functioning?
To what extent do Romulans and their technology still have representation in this far future. I think Vulcan's a good option. The Klingons, if it's the same timeline that we got glimpses of in Enterprise, the Klingons are a part of the Federation after the 26th century, something like that. So it could be Kronos. That would be cool. It'll be really cool to see if it's a planet that we have. Actually, it'll be cool either way, whether it's a planet we have or haven't heard of. But I'm kind of hoping. I'm kind of hoping for some deep, like Trek reference cuts. I'm hoping for it to be on a planet that we've heard of before.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see how the Federation has evolved as an organization, and whether they are trying to still hold true to the same ideals of the Federation, or if they've maybe regressed and become a little bit more insular as a result of just trying to survive. Yeah,
I mean, it's encouraging. I think that the something I don't think we actually mentioned yet, there's a message from Admiral Senetal that the Discovery intercepts, a 12-year-old message that draws them to Earth. It's a call from this admiral who is calling on any folks who still hold loyalty to the Federation or Starfleet to basically gather together. And to what end, we don't know. The message is kind of garbled, and by the time they arrive at Earth, they learn that Senetal has apparently died, and later learned that is in fact a symbiote living inside Adira. But the question remains, well, okay, that was only 12 years ago. Someone was still trying to get the band back together. So that to me indicates that there's some reason for optimism.
Yes. Again, I feel very optimistic about this season and where we're going. I thought it was interesting that Booker did not stay with the crew.
Yeah, he's going to kind of cut loose in the Alpha Quadrant a bit. I think he's going to go find some good to do. And I'm sure that he'll just sort of pop in as required by the story.
Yeah. It's I hope that he comes back more often than not.
I believe he will. I mean,
he is a
I
welcome
think he's a member
addition.
of the main cast, so I kind of think he might have to. I don't know how those things work.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get him in episode 5. Come back around and be like, "Hey guys, I found one of your friends over here."
Yeah. Well, we know well enough from the trailers and promotional images that have come out that we certainly haven't seen the last of him or his cat.
Oh, of course. Or his cat. The final scene of the episode, the final sequence of the Junior Bridge crew exploring the old tree and Starfleet Academy. Lovely finish to the episode. It felt very, again, hopeful, optimistic, and that seems to be the running theme, right?
Sure.
Like I keep saying these same words over and over and over again, and I think that really tracks well for the future of this season.
Yeah, and what a touching moment for all of these members of the crew, the bridge crew at least, who've been through so much, and they get to visit this little slice of home, this little slice of what used to be familiar, and at least some bit of it still does. There's a tree there on the grounds that was there when they were all at the academy, and they gather in front of it, and it's a moving sequence, and it's a good note to end the episode on.
Yeah, I'm glad they got their moment. Their moment.
Well deserved. They've been through a lot.
Yeah, I know, man. Jeez, trying to think about compressing everything that Discovery's gone through in the past, in their timeline, a couple of days. Oh,
yeah, it's been a couple of days for them.
Yeah. Standout moments. What really jumped at you in this episode as something that is now lodged in your brain?
I go back to the moment with Tilly and Burnham in the corridor where where Tilly's reckoning with the fact that everyone she left behind lived full lives and had children and had graduations and all sorts of life milestones that she missed.
Yes.
And that as far as all of her loved ones are concerned, she was gone too. And she also missed out on the chance to, somehow let them know that, she was okay. And it's hard. And she sort of stood in for the rest of the crew going through that, and also expressed understanding to Michael, having to let go of the crew. She calling her out on it isn't the right way to put it, but she recognizes correctly that, Michael had sort of moved on from them. And they recognize that that's okay, and that she understands why she had to do that and hug it out.
Yeah.
That continues to be a standout moment to me from the episode. There were a couple of other cool moments. Certainly the Discovery, taking the brunt of those quantum torpedoes for Burnham and Book to make sure their plan works. That was a standout moment for me. Always good to see those sort of self-sacrificing moments from the crew. And those are two of mine. How about you?
Like you, I really enjoyed that scene. It was a very realistic moment of exploring that loss and taking a moment to feel the weight of the consequences of their actions in a very realistic way, and breaking the heavy emotional moment with a bit of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Cake is eternal.
Sure.
I enjoyed that.
And it works for their dynamic. Yeah. I mean, it's like that was them.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
The character moments in this episode, much like episode 2, they're getting better. The ensemble cast in general, they're coming together and they're making their mark. And it's a welcome sign.
Absolutely.
There was one other moment I really enjoyed. Maybe not necessarily a standout, but I have to mention it. I got a real laugh out of it. They are so they're on the bridge, and Burnham is kind of like letting them know about the burn and everything going on. And Stamets, he looks like flabbergasted. He's like, "That's impossible. Nothing could affect all dilithium all at once." And Georgiou just rolls her eyes in classic Georgiou fashion. She's like, "Says a man who jumps a starship through mushroom space."
Right. Yeah.
I got a big kick out of it.
Your incredulity for just a moment, sir. What you do is absurd on its face.
And I felt like that was also such a remark to a lot of, to us, to the fans, to viewers, to say like, guys, just hold your beliefs, just suspend it for a little bit. Come along with us for this ride. Have a bit of fun.
Come along for the ride.
We're here. We're doing this. Sure. Come on, So, it's in all this, like, I was venting a little bit earlier, like, I want answers. I want to know what the burn is, like, some things don't track, it's like we need more answers.
And I think Stamets' reaction
at the same time
lends credence to that.
Exactly. It's like, at the same time, sit back.
Sure.
It's going to happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, of course, I know we touched on it earlier, but obviously a standout moment was Captain Saru.
Oh, yeah. Can't say enough good things about how excited I am that he's got the captaincy. And I love that, again, as I mentioned earlier, Doug Jones, his gravitas as Saru is real, it's palpable, and I love that at the same time you can see that he's got work cut out for him.
For sure.
Yeah.
He's still going to grow into the role, but he's already so well on his way to being a very good one that I'm not really worried about it. I'm just looking forward to it.
So our next episode, the fourth one, is titled Forget Me Not. And I did not watch the trailer or anything, so I don't know. But I do know that they are going to go visit the Trill homeworld, and I remember the scenes from the initial trailers from that. So there we go.
Yeah. We could, certainly based on the title, presumably we're going to delve into some of these Trill memories and see where that rabbit hole goes.
What are you, if anything, are you hoping that we learn from Admiral Sennett?
Oh, I mean, the location of Starfleet Federation headquarters would be an obvious one. I think probably one of the first questions they'd ask. Presumably, if he was still on Earth, 10 years prior, he knows where they went. So I think that would probably be my first question once I was able to actually interface with him.
Yeah. I think that's the big one looming on everyone's minds right now.
I mean, obviously,
where do we go from here?
Yeah, obviously, any more information about what happened. I mean, Burnham said that she spent a year looking for clues. We see her, get handed a couple of objects, on her search. We don't really get further details on what she's learned so far, other than what she says in her personal log. So, I would assume she would have questions along the lines of her investigation. Sure.
I hope we get a little bit more about, maybe what's going on with the Vulcans and the Klingons, and maybe some if there are any star bases still active or anything like that. I'm hoping for more leads. That's what I'm really hoping to get.
Yeah, and I think we will. I think tomorrow's going to be next episode is going to be all about sort of getting the next set of leads to track down.
And we know that we don't have to stop off to get spores, because Stamets, very cleverly, there was a whole thing in the first season where he's been cultivating his own mushroom farm this whole time. So as far as we know, as long as Stamets is okay, it's okay. So let's everybody grab my hands. We're gonna hold hands. We're gonna walk around Paul Stamets, and we're just gonna make sure nothing bad ever happens to him.
Yeah. I suppose they could also juice someone else with the tardigrade DNA from him, maybe. But they gotta put some bubble wrap on that guy.
That would be the ideal situation. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on about this episode that we should chat about?
I don't think so. I think we looked under most every rock. Any lingering questions that you have after this episode that you want to express?
Oh man, not in particular. I just really enjoyed, seeing the ship.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed seeing the crew back together. It was a great all-around Star Trek episode. I think it really tracks towards the hopefulness and optimism that everybody's been feeling. And I think we're going to get a lot more of that this season.
Yeah. I think the one lingering question I kind of had, they sort of use, it's almost a throwaway line, but it was an interesting detail. Michael talks about reaching out to Terrelysium and eventually hearing back from them, and they never heard of her mother. So that's interesting to speculate whether there has been or will be some alterations to the timeline, or whether there were some, and that's why they ended up in such different times and places than they were supposed to. Maybe there's some thing that happened. Maybe the burn had an effect on on space time, and that caused a ripple effect. And who knows? But it's another little kernel, a little thread for them to pull at and track down. I'm hoping they do, because I'm still wondering, what the heck happened and why.
Could it be that maybe Gabrielle Burnham was from further in the future, Was she not further in the future? Was it an alternate universe? Did Empress Georgiou, when she joined Section 31, do some timey-wimey stuff to make sure that, this whole situation never happened?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah? Who knows?
We'll see. Book does specifically mention the temporal wars and that time travel tech is now illegal. It might have just been red meat for the fans, but maybe it's establishing a little bit more canon for us. Exactly. Maybe it's establishing setting the stage for some sort of timey-wimey timeline intervention.
Exactly. Yeah, folks, if you feel differently, if you have a theory on that, please engage with us on Twitter and Instagram at StarfleetPod. We are always here to listen to your feedback. And the golden rule, Ian?
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. My name is Mike.
My name is Ian.
And we are part of the We Made This network of podcasts. Make sure you stick around to hear what else is on the show. So until next time.
Elsewhere
on We Made This. Observing the Pattern, a Fringe podcast.
You'd have a doctor saying, oh, well, it's because, if someone's come back from the dead, it's because they were frozen and their body temperature warmed up, or, they ingested this poison that, made it look like death, or whatever it was, rather than it being a miracle that's seen as the more outlandish thing. So it's quite interesting seeing the roles reversed here. Because I know sympathy's lied with Walter, but then equally, I felt kind of sorry for the priest who's just like, right, you realise this is mad, right?
Yeah.
There's no part of this that is safe.
Life's milestones.
Sleepwalkers. Took him to see that.
That Stephen King thing with the evil cat people.
About the incestuous cat people, yeah.
Goodness sake.
And also Natural Born Killers was another one I went to with my dad.
How old were you?
Well, he used to sneak me in. I was about 14. Yeah, so he'd go and buy the tickets, and I'd go and get the popcorn, and he'd be like, right, let's go. Bearing in mind, my dad at the time was the detective sergeant of the West Midlands Drug Squad.
The Time Is Now, a Millennium podcast.
Yeah, I think when we get to Skull and Bones, the final scene in that one where he gives his reasons to Emma, I think that has been criticised quite much. But then obviously we'll look at Peter Watts over the course of the season.
But that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because how many times that's what people in his position say.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you hate me and you think I'm doing bad, but when the food runs out, who are you going to blame? That goes back to 3 Days of the Condor, right?
Yeah.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.
We Are Starfleet is a podcast dedicated to Star Trek Discovery and how it relates to the story, ethos, and canon of Star Trek. Join your host, Mike Slammer, as he sits down with guests from all over the world to talk disco. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at StarfleetPod. Follow for more Star Trek podcasts, such as The Sanctuary, a politics and economics of Star Trek pod, Rarely Going, a Star Trek Lower Decks podcast, and Make It So, a Star Trek Picard podcast. We Are Starfleet is produced as part of the We Made This network of podcasts. We Made This brings together popular culture podcasts around film, TV, music, and more that hopefully educate, excite, and don't take themselves too seriously. Check us out at www.wemadethispod.com. Original music composed and performed by Anthony Fuscaldo.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.